What is good, YouTube? It's your boy OG Nomboy back with another video, and in today's video I'm actually going to be going over a team that a subscriber of mine recommended to me on one of my previous videos. So that video consisted of the team Medicham, Sableye, and Powder Alolan Ninetales in the back. So he commented and suggested this team, which is pretty similar in the way that it's played, where you do have the Medicham lead and a hard counter to a flying type in the back, and then instead of having the Sableye safe swap, he has the Noctowl safe swap. So without further ado here, let's see how this team is able to perform in this meta here. So first match, we have the Medicham into Stunfisk, and positive lead for us. So the opponent swaps into their Swampert. So Swamperts, a lot of times when they're playing against a Medicham, they will build up to the Earthquake, just because 2 Hydro Cannons actually doesn't quite KO a Medicham. So I wait for them to build up to the Earthquake, and then I catch onto my Noctowl, and this ends up being a Hydro Cannon, but this is a-okay for us since 2 Hydro Cannons do not KO a Noctowl. So we're going to be able to tank both of these pretty comfortably, and we should be able to reach a Sky Attack before they get to another Hydro Cannon. So going to either take the opponent out or threaten a shield. So the opponent decides to let that go, and they actually bring in a Lantern. So they're going to be able to get a pretty nasty farm down on us. So at least we're able to get the Shadow Ball off. And now we have to bring our Lantern into their Lantern. And as you're going to see here, I actually am running the wrong moveset on my Lantern. So the typical moveset is Spark, Surf, and then Thunder, Bolt. But I am actually running Thunder here. And I didn't really know the difference until I just noticed like right now while I was recording the video. And apparently Thunder is 60 energy, and then Thunderbolt is 55 energy. And then Thunder does an extra 10 damage compared to the Thunderbolt, but the 5 energy less like kind of makes it a little bit better, the Thunderbolt over the Thunder. And I'm just kind of confused why they gave like the Pokemon like 2 really similar electric type moves, but it is what it is. Sometimes like I'm not checking it too carefully, and like when I'm TMing the Pokemon, like it just looks right, so then I'm like, oh, okay, that must be it. But a little bit unfortunate for us there, but our opponent calling a bait and then building up to a Thunderbolt before swapping out. So at this point, since they were able to manage their energy well, as well as call one of our baits, they are in a winning position here, as they are going to be able to take us out with a Earthquake and a Rock Slide here. And I think Medicham actually wins CMP against the Stunfisk, but I don't build up to the CMP, and they're able to get this Rock Slide off before we get our counter through. So also another misplay by us. So now they're just going to be able to take us out with the Thunderbolt here, and that should be a GG for my opponent. So next match, we have a Medicham into Swampert. So gonna intend on playing this out the same way as the last time, but they actually swapped in a Drapion. So I'm thinking already, like the Swampert, Sableye, and then Skarmory team is a pretty common team, and the Swampert and Skarmory core is pretty common. So right now I'm thinking, okay, they probably just have the Drapion in replacement for the Sableye, so I'm okay with staying in with my Medicham here. And the thing is though, they should be able to outpace us now, since it does take 6 counters for us to get to our Ice Punches, and it takes 5 and 4 of their Poison Stings to get to a like Crunch or Aqua Tail. So I'm gonna actually swap out of there. And also, like, I think it's pretty safe to assume that there is some sort of flying type in the back, even if it isn't the Skarmory, just because the Skarmory isn't as good this season, especially with other flying types having the buff due to the wing attack buff. But they end up bringing the Swampert back in, which is kind of confusing me. Like, I have no clue what is in the back at this point, but gonna go ahead and let that move through just because we will survive it. And I'm gonna throw the Sky Attack. So they don't want to stay in here, since they would have to get to another Hydro Cannon and throw it to take my Noctowl out, as they're not going to be able to farm me down with the Mud Shots. But also, this is a bit of a questionable play too, just because their Sableye is also doing resisted damage with their Shadow Claws, so we are able to reach a Sky Attack on the Sableye. And then now we just bring in our wrong moved Lantern, and then we should just be able to go for a Surf. And I'm building up extra energy just so we have another Surf ready for the Swampert when it comes back in. And at this point, it is game over for the opponent. So GG's to my opponent there. A bit of an unpredictable team just because like I really haven't seen this team around and kind of threw me off a little bit, but still able to secure the match there. Next match we have the Medicham into Altaria. So our back two Pokemon also don't do particularly well against the Altaria, but you reach the Ice Punch before they're able to reach the Sky Attack. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this Ice Punch off first, and then I'm going to attempt to catch a Sky Attack on my Lanturn, but opponent holding onto their energy, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this move through. Ends up just being a Sky Attack, so that ends up working out very well for us, and we're going to go ahead and throw our Thunder. So opponent letting that through, and now they're going to be getting off another move. So I let that one through, and we are kind of in a sticky position since we are not able to get to our Surf. But if we had the Thunderbolt, we actually might have been able to get to that. But they swap into a Azumarill, so I'm pretty confused since typically when you do see the Altaria lead, like some common teams are either Double Steel or Toxicroak, Registeel, and you can also see like Azumarill and Registeel as well. But surprised that they stayed in against our Lanturn, I guess. So, because I mean, like, they probably want to swap out and then get their Steel type on the Lanturn just so that our Medicham can't get aligned to it later on in the match. So at this point, I really don't know what the opponent is running. So I'm gonna get a nice farm down on the Azumarill, and then let's see what the opponent decides to bring in here. So they bring in a Swampert, so I'm kind of confused as to why they didn't bring the Swampert into our Lanturn. And I'm gonna go ahead and shield this just because like we haven't used our shields yet, and we have to shield something. But yeah, kind of interesting way the opponent decided to play this here. So now we also don't have the move yet, and the opponent decides to, I mean, maybe they tried to catch, maybe they didn't, maybe they were just trying to get this Sky Attack off. But at this point we're going to be able to farm them down, and the opponent knows it's over, so they concede the match. Next match here, we have our Medicham into, I guess I edited that a little bit poorly, but Lanturn here. So we have to stay in this as our Lanturn is rocking the wrong moveset, and also just swapping in puts us a move behind. So I'm gonna stay in here. Medicham versus the Lanturn isn't too bad of a matchup. The only problem is, like, in case there is a Steel type in the back, you kind of need your Medicham just to handle it. So I'm gonna stay in here, and then since they let them move through, I should be able to take them out with an Ice Punch and some counters. So I'm gonna preserve this just in case there is a Steel type in the back. So throwing off this Ice Punch, and let's see what the opponent decides to do here. They let it go, and they actually bring in an Altaria. So I swap into my Noctowl, and then they bring in the Stunfisk. So I'm glad right now that I did win Switch Advantage and that I did preserve my Medicham. So just going to get as many of these Shadow Balls off before they take me out with their Rock Slide. So we're able to tank 2, and I think we can still tank 2. Like, normally you do need 3 Rock Slides to take out a Noctowl if you are the Galarian Stunfisk, but they did do some quick attack damage with their Altaria, like Dragon Breath, so I was a little bit worried, but it's looking like they actually can't really farm this down unless they want to take another Shadow Ball. So opponent forced to throw, which puts us in a pretty positive position here. Should just be able to come in with the Medicham and get some counters off, and we're going to commit to a full farm down. I'm going to shield this just because I do have energy to throw at the Altaria. And then I'm going to bring my Lanturn in, and all we need is a Surf probably. Well, actually that's not true. I thought the Altaria was actually chipped up before they left that matchup here, but at this point the spark damage is doing quite a bit, so I am still going to go for the Surf because it's kind of risky if they do shield the Thunder. And the Surf will just about take out the Altaria anyways, and even if they somehow get to another move on us, like, we should be able to counter down the Altaria with our Medicham. So pretty comfortable position for us to be in. They're not actually able to get to another move before we farm them down, and then we can just spark the Galarian Stunfisk once, and we end up taking out our opponent. So final match here, we have a Deoxys lead. So we don't really have the greatest matchup against this thing with our Medicham, but we kind of have to stay in since we can't really swap our Noctowl in, and then our Lantern is more or less like our hard quote-unquote answer to the Deoxys, but they do us a favor and they swap into their Noctowl. And you're gonna see here though, like we can't really farm them down too much if we want to keep some health on our Lantern, so I'm just gonna over farm a little bit more, and then I'm gonna throw the Thunder. But yeah, definitely rock the Thunderbolt if you're gonna play this team. And hoping they bring the Deoxys back in. So they're gonna get a move off. Actually let this one go, and then I'm gonna try to get 2 back-to-back Surfs to either threaten some shields or to help take out the Deoxys here. So I'm gonna get to another Surf before they're able to farm us down. And we're gonna have to bring our Medicham back into this just because we do not want to tank a Thunderbolt on our Noctowl. So bringing in our Medicham, gonna have to eat a move here, and this is probably gonna be the Psycho Boost if they want to dip out of this matchup. And they end up having a Walrein in the back, so I'm just gonna stay in here, and then the opponent realized they kind of have an unfavorable matchup there and concede the match. So overall able to go 4-1 in this set. Kind of misplayed a bit on the first match, which ended up costing us the win, but definitely winnable. So this team has a lot of potential, and yeah, thank you for my subscriber for suggesting me this team. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also submit your battles in the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.